coming. So just to let folks know, the event is being recorded now, such that others who can't attend today can view it afterwards. So thanks for making the time. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about the graduate program offerings in the kinesiology department at the University of Waterloo. And I'm going to reserve most of the time for you to ask questions. It's one thing for me to download information to you, but I'd much rather hear what the issues are that are really core to your questions here. So I'm going to switch over to a few slides to start off with. Okay. So some quick introductions here. My name is Andrew Lang. I'm the Associate Chair of Graduate Studies for the department. And also in attendance here, the real people that make the department work for graduate students. Denise Hay, she's the grad program administrator. We also have Leanne Berry, she's our grad program assistant, and she focuses more on the thesis-based students. And then Holly Rutherford, and she focuses more on the coursework master students. And a little bit of background on me, just to set the stage here. I actually did my undergraduate degree in the department. I then stayed and did my master's degree here as well. And then I've come back, and now I'm a faculty member in the department. So I've got perspectives now from a bunch of different lenses, and I'm happy to share those perspectives with you from the Q&A session. Because the career that I ended up with is not what I initially had planned, but I'm in a much better place now than what my original plan was, and I'm happy to flesh that out later on. The overall aim of the programs here, just to further advance students' information and knowledge base related to science of human biosciences and kinesiology. And with those core fundamental sciences, you can apply that to a whole host of different domains within careers or within future research endeavors as well. But the idea with these programs is to prepare you. They're next steps to get to places that you want to be. And some of our students move on to other professional programs. Some of them move on to doctoral programs, and then some move into the working world. And I have a slide later on the careers themselves, and there are a whole host of different directions that you can go in, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. One of the nice things is that the department truly does have kind of state-of-the-science facilities and resources to support you as a graduate student. And these span the gamut from resources from teaching perspectives, resources from IT, all the way up to our clinical facility on the North Campus, which is called CARE. And then each individual laboratory if you're a thesis-based student as well. And so leaving for my doctoral and postdoctoral studies and then coming back, I truly value now kind of the resources that we have to support graduate students. And we've got top-notch instructors and faculty members as well. We have 5 CRCs, and Canada Research Chairs just indicate that they're world leaders in their respective fields, and that makes up almost 20% of our faculty member are CRCs. So our programs span 3 main kind of focal areas, and the first one is biomechanics, and that's the one that I'm part of. Neuroscience is our second stream, and the third one is physiology and nutrition. And so although we do have some, those are the streams that our courses traditionally follow, and there's a lot of breadth and overlap between those disciplines and streams. But that gives you a sense of the kind of the focal points of the department. So in terms of the nuts and bolts here, there are 4 different formal graduate program offerings for graduate students. The first 2 are master's programs. The first one listed there is a coursework master's. The second is the thesis-based Master of Science program. The last 2 listed there are PhD programs. One of them is in kinesiology, and the other is multidisciplinary and spans multiple departments, but the focus is on aging, health, and well-being. And I'll speak to each of those in turn over the next couple of slides. And so our coursework master's program, it's 1 year in duration. It involves taking 8 full-time courses or half-credit courses, such that the requirements are to get 4.0 credits from your coursework. And those courses are completed over the first 2 terms, so from September until April. And that might seem like 4 courses a term, might seem pretty standard based on your undergrad experiences. It's a pretty heavy workload though, and you fully immerse yourself within the learning environment here. And so of those 4 credits, at least 2 of those have to be kinesiology graduate level courses. One of those, or half credit course, is a statistics course. And then there's 1.5 or elective courses within the department. And you're certainly able to take all of your courses within the kin graduate space. But those are at least the baseline requirements. The summer term then is spent, or the spring term, within a full-time experiential practicum. And this is 420 hours, or essentially a full-time job for that 3.5 months. And we work with practicum partners, workplace partners, to secure those locations. It's also but it's also incumbent upon you as well to search for potential practicum sites to ensure that you find an opportunity that best aligns with your interest, your research goals, sorry, your career goals, those sorts of things. And at the end of that practicum, there's a colloquium, a presentation, and then there's also a seminar milestone, which I'm happy to talk about more in the Q&A session. Each student that enters as a coursework master student is allocated to an advisor, and those advisors are matched on the basis of their expertise and the interest of each student. And each of those advisors is a member of our graduate program committee. And the intent or focal point for the coursework master's program is kind of advanced preparation for the next step in your career in a whole host of different domains. And some graduates actually move on to other professional kind of programs, academic programs, physio, medicine, OT, a host of others. And in addition to, again, the career focus for, and the practicum is really a good launching point into those career conversations as well. The MSc thesis it's a 2-year program. There are 2.0 credits, which are the baseline requirement, or the equivalent of 4 full-time courses. And those courses are generally held or taken during the first 2 terms, during the fall term and the winter term. The thesis proposal then occurs within your 3rd term, and then your thesis itself is enacted, or you do your thesis over terms 4 to 6. There's a seminar milestone with that program as well. And your thesis is going to be within 3 fields here. It's going to be within our biomechanics, neuroscience, or physiology and nutrition domains. A research supervisor is required for the master's thesis program, and it's a fully funded program. Currently, the the funding level is $20,000 per year. And those are a combination of teaching assistant positions as well as research assistant positions from your supervisor. So it's half the number of courses if we want to contrast compared to the coursework master's student. But it's a longer duration because of the thesis component, and then it's funded, where the MSc coursework program isn't formally funded, although there is the opportunity for funding during the practicum component in the spring term. Our doctoral programs are 4 years full-time, and it's 6 courses post undergraduate degree. And so if you've taken 4 half-credit courses during your master's, then it's 2 additional courses. And again, typically within the first couple of terms. There's a comprehensive exam, and then the bulk of the time is spent on your thesis research. And there's also a professional development component and seminar milestone as well. These programs are also funded at the level of 23 or around, it might be a little bit higher than that for the upcoming cohort that'll be coming in next fall. But it'll be around the $23,000, $24,000 a year guaranteed. Some of our students are funded at levels higher than that based on scholarships, awards, and those sorts of things. And again, for the thesis doctoral program, a supervisor is required. And we can talk later on about the mechanisms for kind of trying to secure that supervisor relationship. So coming out the back end here, again, these graduate programs are a stepping stone onto other things. And the careers can span an entire host of different domains. And I actually fiddled around this morning trying to come up with an image to encapsulate the careers. And there simply wasn't a single one that captured all the opportunities. So a number of our graduates go on to rehabilitation positions, and that could be within hospital settings, but also within private clinics. A number of our graduates move on to ergonomics and health and safety positions within industry. A number of my students and a number of others have moved on to the forensics consulting world. And certainly a number go into sports scientists, fitness industries. Another opportunity is careers within the world of research themselves, and those could be private companies that perform R&D, but also within kind of healthcare domains and academia. And the last one is a number of students move on to teaching type positions as well. One of my master's students, she is a science teacher now in the Toronto District School Board, but there are a whole host of different ways to get involved in the teaching world post-degree. And then, as I mentioned as well, a lot of our students move on to further training within different degrees and programs, and those span professional schools within the health domain, but also different directions as well. So the admissions criteria for are outlined right here. And so there's a minimum of a 75% grade point average, and that's calculated on the last 10 credits or 20 courses. So generally the last 2 years of your undergraduate degree. And so that's a baseline minimum at any point to be considered as eligible. In terms of the application process, there are 2 academic references required. There was a question that I'll respond to in the Q&A related to, all right, so I'll just answer it now. So if indeed you've been out of the academic setting for a number of years, there are scenarios here in where we'd accept professional references so long as all the other criteria are met in terms of eligibility. There's information related to resume type information, as well as an information form to try and gauge what your interests are and where you'd like to go Now, for those that are interested in the thesis-based programs, it's imperative that you establish a relationship and well, not a commitment, but that you understand who the different faculty members are and who you would be most interested in working with. For the last point here, the applications are formally due on February 1st. And if you want to be considered for scholarships and maximize your chances of acceptance, that's the deadline by which you'll need to get your application package submitted. But it is a rolling admissions sort of process, and decisions often don't get made until later in March, April, even sometimes in the summer. So you can certainly submit your admission or application package after February 1st to be part of the rolling entrances. So back to an explicit discussion of funding. So the coursework students are here for 3 terms. The first 2 terms are focused on coursework or courses. And there's no funding supplied during those first 2 terms. The third term is the practicum, and there's an opportunity there to be funded by that workplace partner for that practicum. So there's the potential for funding during that 3rd term. On the other hand, you're only paying tuition for 3 terms as well, so it's a smaller tuition commitment compared to the other programs. Thesis students are guaranteed funding by the department and by their supervisor. And for master's students, that's in the range of $20,000 per year. And for PhD students, it's a little bit higher than that. It's closer to that $23,000 to $24,000 mark. In addition, thesis students, but generally not coursework master students, are eligible for scholarships as well, which would be above and beyond that baseline funding level. And certainly thesis students are encouraged to think about applications to agencies such as NSERC, CIHR, SHRC, or OGS as well. So if you are truly interested and for a master's or a PhD for next year, and you want to maximize your chances, please come talk to us now, because the applications, at least for master's level scholarships, are due in the fall term, and some of them by February 1st. But please come talk to us now such that you can maximize your chances for these scholarships. And these are generally, I won't say, you kind of print your own ticket if you end up getting a scholarship in terms of admittance. So please come talk to us if you've got more interest in scholarship information. So it looks as though, yes, there are some seminars or webinars related to these opportunities on October 27th. I'm sure you've there was a session on Monday and another one today, but there are more information sessions available to you to augment any questions that you might have. There's this funding opportunities, and that's October 29th. How to assist in writing your personal statement to help with your application package. There's sessions in November and January. And then also just general preparation for your applications in November. And if you go to the GSPA link indicated here, you can find a whole host of resources to help you with your decisions as well as preparations. And in the absence of that, just send me an email, send the admin team an email, and we'll be happy to help you out. So I'm going to stop talking now and open it up to questions from you. Now, as part of our panelist group here, we have people from different perspectives. So the special people that I'd like to introduce now are our guest speakers. So Taylor Winberg is one. He's a PhD student. He is president of the Kinesiology Grad Student Association. And so he represents and advocates for graduate students within the department. He's also got some helpful insights potentially in that he did his undergraduate degree here as well as his master's degree here. So he has insights into how courses and the programs actually work. And he's just a general nice guy as well. Madeline, she's with us as well. She's got a different pathway. She's a second-year master student, and she didn't do her undergraduate degree here. She did it at University of Toronto, and so she's got a different perspective. And she has some experience, as does Taylor, as teaching assistants that may be relevant if you wanted to ask about that. And then other members online here that'll be part of the panel are myself, and then Denise Hay and Holly Rutherford. They know the nuts and bolts, so depending on the question, we might ask for their help in answering those questions. So at this point in time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We'll start with Taylor and Madeline. If you just want to provide a brief introduction about yourself, which programs you're in, which labs, why you decided to go to grad school, and why the decision for the University of Waterloo. That might stimulate some conversations.
All right, I'll go ahead then. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session. My name is Madeline Torzanski, and I am currently a second-year master's student in biomechanics in the Biomechanics of Human Mobility Lab under the supervision of Dr. Stacy Acker. So what kind of got me interested in pursuing biomechanics as a graduate degree was my research interest in knee mechanics and looking at how movement strategies can vary in different movements. And I'm currently in the editing stages of a paper looking at movement strategy variations between unloaded and loading squatting activities with an application to occupational childcare workers. So I was able to continue on with my research interest in coming here to the University of Waterloo. So some potential career interests. So I personally want to look into the job industry after I graduate next year, and this could be related to research in an ergonomics field, in forensic biomechanics, or in health and safety. And currently I'm searching up job titles of like a research associate. So that's kind of, I think, what would be similar to what individuals would be looking at. And then also seeing where I can move up within the industry as I get more work experience. So one of the big reasons why I decided to become a graduate student was because I really enjoyed biomechanics classes in my undergraduate career at U of T. And I also completed a research project with my biomechanics professor, and that really sprung the research interest to focus on knee joint movements and the precursors between knee away and different types of movements that people complete. And so I chose Dr. Stacy Acker as my supervisor because she mainly focused on this area. So there was a big connection right there. And I chose to complete my degree at the University of Waterloo because of the very high level of success that graduates from this program have in getting jobs or going on to further schooling. And I also learned that this program has a very large biomechanics program, and they're very collaborative, and I felt that this would best prepare me for my future work in this area. And the professors are very open to chatting with you about your research interests and always challenge students to problem solve and really dig deep into what you're researching so that you can just be most successful with your graduate career. So I'm open to any questions later on, and thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. Taylor, do you want to go ahead here?
Yeah, sounds good to me. So to kind of follow up on that, Andrew already touched on a few of the main points. So I did complete my undergraduate and my master's degree here. My master's was under the supervision of Andrew, actually, and so is my PhD. So that's why he kind of has to say that he likes me at least a little bit. Over the course of my master's, I focused mostly on balance control and looking at methods of perturbing that. So we actually had, speaking to the kind of the state-of-the-art equipment that Andrew mentioned before up at the Center for Community and the Research Excellence. We've had a translating sled that we built over the course of my master's, and using that to assess how people respond to varying levels of perturbation from that. So varying how fast that surface moves underneath people's feet and seeing how they respond differently. over my PhD here, I'm going to take a little bit of a turn, but still be using a lot of the similar techniques. So I'm going to be focusing more on flooring surfaces and how they can influence people's balance control, as well as fall-related injuries and their standing comfort. So part of the reason that I've pursued this path was due to, even in my master's, I am a fan of looking at the more whole body side of biomechanics. So using balance as a measure of whole body differences and how people respond with that, not just a single joint, and kind of expanding that further into my PhD, where Andrew's primary research focuses are in the fall-related injuries and looking at hip fractures and other different injuries that can result from that, especially in the older elderly population. So trying to go further in that direction of looking at the flooring surfaces as, do they cause a detriment, and could they potentially cause a benefit for reducing workplace related injuries? As for why I started to pursue grad school, part of it was because of it would let me target a very specific thing while still maintaining some breadth in my research areas. So for example, over the past year or so, I've been involved in a few different projects. So my primary focus has been balance control, but I've been able to work on projects related to different cancer treatment induced changes that have been detrimental to balance in different ways to try to help that. As well as even in my master's, I was able to explore a project looking at how different people who work in boats on the ocean and how that changes their balance and what kind of detriment that would be, and if training protocols actually benefit those individuals. Part of the reason I picked UW, well, again, as I did start here, it gave me a good insight into what the department was all about, and taking the undergrad classes and seeing the more advanced biomechanics classes that obviously led to the specialty that I'm focusing in. Just the amount, honestly, part of it is honestly just the amount of resources and the amount of expertise we have within the department. We have, at least within biomechanics and in our kin department in general, we have arguably one of the largest kin departments within Canada. And that really allows for, as Madeline was talking about previously, supervisors and professors who can ask some in-depth questions over the course of our proposals and our defenses to really push the students and to develop that knowledge, which translates into the employability at the end and the back end of people who are hiring know what University of Waterloo kin grads can do. As far as when I'm done my PhD, I'm actually, for full transparency, not 100% sure what I want to do when I'm done, but I am looking into the forensic side as well as the more private research and development side of things.
Perfect. Thanks, Taylor. So I think you've actually answered one of Vivian's questions here, I think, about why you end up staying for your 2 grad degrees. But Maddie, why don't we do the second part of that question? How did you go about reaching out to profs at other institutions about supervision?
Sure. Well, the thing I did was just regular Google searches about different types of professors at universities that study biomechanics. And then the university website should have a little bio of what they study specifically. And then I just simply sent them an email being like, hey, this is the research interest that I've had, and this is what it stemmed from. And then I asked them if they were looking to accept master's students for the next year. And what I always encourage people is that one email might not you get in right away or get you in right away. So just send follow-up emails, because profs do have very busy schedules. So don't ever be discouraged if you might not hear back from someone within like a couple days. I'll always just send follow-ups, and then they can arrange for a one-on-one meeting, or in this case, like a Skype call.
Great. Thanks, Madeline. One thing I can add from another lens as well is that if you can hook them somehow with that email, so if you can indicate in the email that you've read this new paper, if you read something that they've published, and so on each kind of faculty member's website, they will have recent publications about the research that they've done. If you can say, I read this, I really enjoyed it, I had a question about X, you're much more likely to get an immediate response. So tailoring it to each of those folks, even though it's more work on your end, will certainly kind of start those conversations more efficiently. Great. And so there's a first question here. What should I do to make it to grad school? What are the academic requirements? If my average is low to mid 80s, what are the chances that I would get into grad school? And so certainly low to mid 80s, that's not an impediment to getting into grad school. Marks are certainly part of the equation, but it's a little bit different than sort of other kind of degrees out there post-undergrad, and that experiences, interests, those sorts of things are equally important. And so marks in that range are certainly not a problem at all in the low to mid 80s. What should I do to make it to grad school? My best suggestion there is to reach out, try and make connections with faculty members, and that's certainly a requirement for thesis-based programs. But it can certainly help as well for course-based programs as well to have a relationship, because you do need a letter of reference. So having sort of connections and a relationship certainly helps with that. Okay, great. Do we have to find a supervisor before starting the program? If yes, how do you suggest we do that? So we've kind of touched on this a little bit. And so the answer is you don't have to have a supervisor secured before you apply. However, you do need to specify who your primary supervisor of interest would be, in addition to a number of other people who kind of align with your interests. But you should almost certainly have reached out to those individuals before you apply to make sure that they're accepting students for the upcoming year, that you're establishing those connections, those sorts of things. Okay, related to funding. So when it says funding for our thesis-based programs, so the $20,000, so is that above and beyond tuition? So no. So those funding levels mentioned, tuition would part of that would go towards paying for tuition. Another question that's come through the Q&A here is, are credit and non-credit courses taken in third and fourth year skipped in the GPA calculation? Holly and Denise can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that they won't come into play as part of the GPA calculation. Maybe you're asking a nuanced question if that's the whether or not we move back to the previous course before that. I'm not sure. Denise and Holly can chime in on that one.
Can you ask? Can I ask the question again? Sorry, I'm reading the questions on the side, but I think I'm ahead or behind. So yeah. We calculate the last 20 credits, no matter what.
So if it were a non-credit course that wasn't allocated a grade, would that
we would skip it?
You would skip it. So the average would be based on the last 19 courses then, not the 20, is that right?
It would be the last 20 credits with grades.
With grades. Perfect. Thanks for clarifying, Denise.
No problem.
So the next question is, if you're considering both thesis and coursework-based programs, do you have to apply separately to both? Denise, do you want to take that one?
Yes, you have to apply for both.
Now, that being said, I'm sure a lot of the requirements for the application packages would be similar.
Yes, there's no difference between applying for a master's coursework program or a master's thesis program. There is a difference with applying for a PhD program. 3 academic references are required for PhD.
Yeah. With the exception, I think, for the coursework masters, they have the option of 1 professional reference, do they not, Denise?
Correct, yes.
Good. Okay, I hope that that's helpful. And the other element within a thesis-based master's application is that there's more emphasis on talking about identifying a research supervisor. And so that's just not kind of relevant for the coursework application. So can international students apply for scholarships? And so that's the most or the least satisfying answer is it depends. So there are certain scholarships that are applicable to international students. We're just in the midst now, I think they're due tomorrow, is a International Ontario Graduate Scholarship Competition. And there's a host of other scholarships internal as well as that it doesn't really matter if, what your your status is in terms of nationality. But certainly some are in terms of NSERC and CAHR. So another one, can you apply for scholarships for multiple programs of interest, or must you submit a separate application for scholarships per program you are applying for? And so for the tri-agencies, for example, you only submit a single application. Now, for those are more research-based scholarships, so you're indicating a focal area of research, and so it's more tailored toward a particular program. That being said, there is the potential for, if you're successful, for switching programs probably, but certainly the larger ones are more tailored to a specific department. Okay, so this is an important one. So do you apply for CGSM prior to your first year? And so if you're a master's, master's student, you would be coming in next fall. You would need to apply this year before you even graduate your undergrad to be supported in the first year of your master's program with a CGSM award. If you wait and apply next, at the start of next year, you would be eligible for the second year of your master's program. But if you want to be considered for both of those years, then you'd have to start thinking about that now. Okay, so what resources would you like, do you have to support personal statements prior to the webinar dates? You can reach out to us offline here, and we can follow up then on this. If you want to get a head start on things, I'm happy. I like eager, so reach out to us and we can help point you towards some resources. So this is actually a really interesting question. Is it more difficult or uncommon to pursue a master's in kinesiology if you didn't do your undergrad in kinesiology? And so my first answer there is it's going to be the classic, it depends. It depends on kind of the directions that you want to take. And so if you're a thesis-based student and your research really interests align with those of supervisor, certainly we have a lot of students that come in from biology, chemistry, physics. I had a master's student who was did his undergrad in mechanical engineering. And so if you talk to them, I'm sure they would indicate that there's probably a learning curve. They'll have to do some additional background reading to support themselves. But it can actually have benefits in that you're coming with a different skill set, a different perspective as well. And so there's certainly, you're not precluded by any means. For coursework master students, we have a student in the program now, a couple of them from biology, and they certainly their interests align with a lot of the courses actually. So the same answer there is it might be more challenging to make sure that you have the requisite background for some of the courses. So there's a lot more preparation involved, but the doors are not closed if you don't have an undergrad degree in kinesiology. Good. And so I think that answers the secondary question, which was, is a background in kin required or recommended, or do other degrees qualify. And again, the same answer there. The more background information you have in courses in this area, probably the easier it's going to be. You'll have just a whole host of background knowledge to support your advanced coursework. But it doesn't preclude you from the program if you don't have a degree, an undergrad in Kin. That being said as well, there's a whole host of differences in Kin programs across Ontario, across Canada, and internationally as well. So you could say that you have the same challenges coming from different Kin programs. The one thing I will mention here is our programs are kind of heavy in the expectations related to kind of background knowledge in sciences and in some of our applications for some of our clinical courses as well. I will admit, and I won't apologize for the facts that our courses are challenging, and they're that way for a purpose to make sure that our graduates come out with top quality skills and that have the edge in the whatever things you want to go on to next. Good. So do you need to start applying for scholarships before you even start your master's? And if you want to maximize your chances for funding in that first year, or sorry, maximize your chances of external scholarships above and beyond the minimum funding, then the answer is yes. And Denise, can you comment on the deadlines for our CGSM applications?
Hi. Yep. The CGSM deadline for applying, you have to request your transcript from the Graduate Studies Office, and the application deadline is December the 1st. And for OGS, you have to have applied for admission, applied for your transcript, have to have applied for graduate school, and have your application and assessment forms into me by February 1st next year. So it's the same deadline as applications.
Good. So OGS and grad school applications are due February 1st. And then for NSERC or CIHR or SHRC, was it December 1st, Denise?
Yes, it was.
Perfect. So great. Thank you for that. Application related to, well, there'll be information on the website about how to apply to the program, and then there should be information there about how to apply to NSERC and CIHR as well, which is as well as OGS for scholarships. Okay, I'm going to jump down to one. Do you have to stick with the biomechanics, neuro, or physiology, nutrition for the coursework master's program? And so the answer to that is absolutely not. And so, and it depends on what you want to do and what you want to get out of the program itself. And so we have some students that are in the coursework master's program that tend to stick within those domains based on what their interests are. But we have just as many students that are interested in a broad kind of set of courses to prepare them for multiple different pathways, and that's encouraged as well. So it is the coursework masters is much more of a choose your own adventure path than would be the thesis-based programs, where the courses are kind of set to prepare you for your thesis work. Good. Okay, so we don't have a coursework master student right now to comment on why they chose the course-based program versus the thesis-based. I can put on my master student hat on that front, and so our coursework-based master's program is tailored less towards those that want to move on to doctoral studies, for example. And so it's more career-oriented, more career kind of focused. And the biggest component of the Coursework Master's Program, which is targeting that career next step, is the practicum component in the third term in the summer. And so that's where you have the opportunity to essentially to work in an industry and make connections that way. And speaking with the previous Coursework Master students, that's probably the element that, by and large, that they found most valuable. It's getting those hands-on skills, getting those connections to support them and actually moving into the working world. The thesis-based programs are certainly focused on research for the thesis component, and that opens a host of different options for careers post-degree as well. And so it certainly allows you any of the other domains in addition to opening up more doors within the research world. Okay, so awards question. So how do we access the UW OGS application portal? Denise, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. You should go to the Graduate Studies Office website and go to the external awards link, and all the applications, information, deadlines, timelines are listed for each external award. You access those applications through the Graduate Studies and Postdoctoral Affairs website.
Good. So in terms of funding, there's a secondary part to this question, Denise. Do the external scholarships stack on top of the guaranteed funding? So maybe you want to, can you, if you've got the dollar figures at the tips of your fingers there for NSERC and OGS and President's Awards, et cetera, that'd be helpful.
Sure. So the OGS funding is 3 terms. It's $15,000. You also receive the President's Graduate Scholarship on top of that. Any funding that you receive from an external award supersedes any funding you get from the department. So if you're getting if you are successful in receiving an OGS, you would not receive a TA or an RA from your supervisor. NSERC, there's different types of NSERC awards. Some are 15,000 and then some are 35,000, 21,000. They're all different amounts. There's different types. There's PGSD 3, PGSD 2, same with CIHR. And again, any funding that you receive from those awards would supersede funding from the department.
So a couple of comments there is that as a graduate student, so first of all, scholarships, they're not taxable. The majority of the funding that you receive from your base funding, if you don't have a scholarship, is non-taxable as well. And then there was one other point here. Yes, if you receive a scholarship, an external one, it means that you don't have the opportunity, or you don't have to TA. And so the idea is that the scholarships allow you to be funded such that you can spend more time focused on your thesis research, for example. Some see that as a pro, that you don't TA, and others like the ability to TA. And so those are conversations to have kind of with me, the admin staff, and your supervisors, if indeed you're awarded one of those scholarships. Last question here. Yeah, so CGSM application. So there are sections within these scholarship applications related to your proposed research. And so if you haven't started your master's program yet, how do you fill out the proposed research section? And it's a great question, and it's why it's critically important that you touch base, reach out to potential supervisors, to get a sense of what their research is, if they're willing to take on students, and then you can oftentimes develop a proposal in kind of concert with the supervisor that you align with. Now, just because you actually write in your proposal, this is what I'm proposing to do, you're not necessarily held to that. If your interests change, etc., you can pivot and move in different directions. It's more to evaluate whether or not you have a proposal and some skills related to kind of research, as opposed to nailing you down to a specific thing. Does sport psychology fall into any of the 3 thesis-based research categories? Now, we don't explicitly have anyone, a stream related to sport psychology at this point in time. Although within our neuro group, we do have a lot of folks that are interested in cognition and how that influences kind of health, and some of it as it relates to performance as well. And so Lower Middleton has a program related to cognition and physical activity and health, but we don't explicitly have a sports psychology group. I'm happy to talk to you offline about that. Wade Wilson is our lecturer in this position, and he's wonderful in this domain. He has his own consulting business as well. So there's the potential for us to talk about something related to his work as well. If you want to pursue a career in kinesiology, is it more beneficial to do your MSc and PhD at different institutions? I was hoping I could pitch some over to Taylor and Maddie or Madeline here, but I'll take a starting point at this as well. And it used to be the case, potentially there'd be a perception of if you were to do your degrees at the same place. That perception is kind of antiquated now, and so there's less of an influence there. What's more important is your reason for staying at the institution if you do your degrees at the same place. And Taylor, I'll throw this over to you then. So I'm not sure if we had this explicit conversation or not, but again, why did you decide to stay for your PhD?
So when I was finishing my master's, I actually had this debate going on, just even in my head and stuff, about what I should be doing. Does it look bad? And basically, it came down to the conclusion that I would have been leaving Waterloo to do a PhD elsewhere, just for the sake of saying I left Waterloo, and it would have had, there's no other reason for it when the equipment and the resources and the expertise that I actually wanted were from Waterloo. So I could have gone to another school, which would have served me not as well for my PhD, just for the sake of saying I got a degree from a different school. So at the end of the day, I decided that the actual education and the information and the research background I was receiving from Waterloo was outweighed the potential downside of even somebody looking at it and saying, that's bad that you went to the same school. That being said, I've also seen people's argument on, once you've done your PhD, do people really care where you got your master's from? They just say, I'm a PhD graduate from Waterloo. So I don't know if they really want to dive into then, well, where'd you get your master's from? So if that conversation goes that way, then again, the same things I just said previously about why I stayed, I think are valid rationale and reasoning. And I think having conversations with other people, even in our department, they agree. I talked to external students, ones who did their master's elsewhere and came to Waterloo for their PhD, and they all agreed when I explained why I was thinking about how I was laying out my options, that there was no real major detriment to staying or to leaving, or no detriment to staying, and it was worth the benefit of staying rather than just leaving for the sake of leaving.
It's an important thing, regardless of which program, where you want to go, is that you have to have a story, a rationale for the decisions that you made. And as Taylor laid out there for his case, the benefits of staying outweighed the potential benefits of moving to a different institution. And yeah. Okay, so for the course-based master's program, do we pick the graduate courses that we want, or is it already laid out for us? And so, and then can we specialize in physiology and nutrition? And so certainly there is no prescripted sort of courses for the course-based master's program. The only requirements are is that you have to take a minimum of 4 kin grad courses, but you can pick and choose from the calendar as you see fit. So there is the ability certainly to specialize. If you like courses within the domain of physiology and nutrition, you can certainly tailor your course selections to take as many of those as possible. Oh, this is a great question. If you're in your 4A term, so you're starting your 4th year right now, you have a prof for the first time, and you really like the research area that they're in, do you still have time to develop a relationship with them? And the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. 4th year is often the time where people start to realize that they've got a connection with a particular prof and a potential interest in research. So now is the time, reach out to them. There's lots of time to set things up before the application is due on February 1st. Oftentimes, this is when it happens for me as well in the fall term when I'm teaching. So reach out as soon as you can. Okay, there's a question here for, good, I'm going to get Madeline involved first. A question for Taylor and Madeline. Grad school seems like a big commitment. I'm curious how you manage a sense of balance in school, work, and life. How time-consuming is grad school in comparison to undergrad or full-time work as another comparator as well?
So I actually just typed an answer because I didn't know if we would have enough time to get to it, but I'll just reiterate what I said for everybody to hear. So I think of grad school as a full-time job. It really is. When COVID wasn't a thing, you would be in your office from approximately like 9 to 5. You'd go to your courses, work on your own work from your supervisor. And I was able to maintain a pretty good work-life balance. I did hold a part-time job coaching figure skating at the Kitchener Skating Club. And I managed to do that as well as keep up with my schoolwork. I would mention that when you are taking, I would say like 2 to 3 courses, the workload is fairly heavy. So you might have to sacrifice a little bit of the normal things that you would do if you had more time on your hands, but that just comes with like furthering your education and making sure you're putting forth 100% effort to learn everything to the best that you can. So all in all, yes, you can maintain a pretty good work-life balance, but sometimes that may be a little bit difficult, but we all got through it. It's all good in the end.
All right, I recognize the time is past the thing, but I do want to try and squeeze in 2 quickly here, and then we will answer the others and send them out as a resource just by text afterwards. Where's that first one? Practicums. And so practicums for course-based master student. We certainly do work to help secure practicums in addition to the efforts of individual students. So Holly Rutherford is the main Coursework Masters admin resource. And we're actually meeting early next week to help set our strategy up right now to continue the practicum placements that we already have in place, as well as extending our network and to help get a pool that we can prepare for next spring. And then the locations of the practicum have spanned a whole host of different areas. We had one with Basketball Canada in the summer. We've had some in kind of clinical positions. We've had some in research positions. So there's a whole host of different areas that we've had them within before. And so this is the ability for students to tailor those practicum sites to their interests. We had one with a regional lacrosse club as well, and implementing concussion protocols within them. So there's all sorts of opportunities there. The other question is, if a student reaches out to you and expresses interest in supervision for a thesis, if they don't end up choosing, all right, so let's turn it on me. He said, if I reached out to you and expressed an interest, and then ultimately decided to do be supervised for a different supervisor, is there any hard feelings? And the answer there is no. And the best policy that I give students, and the one that I try to use myself, is just to be open and transparent. As long as you're open and honest about sort of your goals here, what you're looking to do, and that you're also considering others, that's the best course of action. And I do the same thing if somebody reaches out to me. I say, I'm not sure how many students I'll be bringing on, but you've got a great package. But I can't commit right now. Just be open. Right. Okay, I think I'll leave it for now, not because I don't want to answer all of the questions, but because I do respect our panelists' time as well. We'll flesh out and respond to any of the other remaining ones. I didn't get a chance to tell you my story about how I ended up in grad studies, and it was by accident. And so I ended up, I wanted to go into medicine, and I didn't get in my first attempt. So my supervisor said, you know what, why don't you start a master's while you're waiting to do your application for next year? And once I did, I never looked back. I never applied again. I fell in love with the kind of the graduate studies world. The smaller class sizes, you get relationships with faculty members. And you start to realize that it's not like undergrad studies at all. It's at least for me, it was much richer and rewarding. And I never look back. So, and I'll leave it at that, but reach out to me and our staff here if you've got any questions at all, because it certainly opens up opportunities that just don't exist with an undergraduate degree. So thanks for everyone's time. Have a great rest of your day.